In this lesson, we're going to discuss contracts and agreements. In the world of business, trust is paramount, but trust alone isn't enough. And this is where contracts and agreements come into play by acting as the bedrock upon which the professional relationship is built and maintained. These written documents detail the rights, obligations, and expectations of the parties involved and set up clear boundaries and guidelines. While a basic contract is the foundation stone of most business relationships, there are more complex natures of business commerce that have to be undertaken by using supplementary agreements to capture the intricate nuances and specifics of your deals. So let's take a look at some different types of contracts, including a basic contract, a service level agreement, a memorandum of agreement, a memorandum of understanding, a master service agreement, a statement of work, a non-disclosure agreement, and a business partnership agreement. First, we have a basic contract. Now, a basic contract is a versatile tool that formally establishes a relationship between two parties. It's going to dictate the roles, responsibilities, and repercussions if either party fails to uphold their end of the bargain. For instance, in a basic contract between a software developer and the client, terms like the payment structure, delivery timelines, and product specifications are going to be listed out and provide us with a clear roadmap for that engagement. However, in today's multifaceted business environment, many ventures require additional layers of agreement, which can fine-tune the specific aspects of your relationship. Now, our second type of contract or agreement is known as a service level agreement. A service level agreement, or SLA, is used to define the standard of a service that a client can expect from a given provider. Let's say you hire a company to manage your IT infrastructure. The service level agreement might state that the server downtime won't exceed 2 hours per month, and any deviation from that would result in penalties paid to you by that service provider for breaking their service level agreement. Third, we have a memorandum of agreement and memorandum of understanding. Now, a memorandum of agreement, or MOA, and a memorandum of understanding, or MOU, are documents that may seem similar, but they actually serve different purposes. An MOA, or memorandum of agreement, is going to be more formal and outline the specific responsibilities and roles of the parties involved. For example, if two companies collaborate on a joint marketing campaign, an MOA might spell out who's responsible for the content creation, who's responsible for the distribution channels, and who's responsible for funding that marketing campaign. On the other hand, an MOU, or Memorandum of Understanding, tends to be less binding and more of a declaration of mutual intent. Two organizations might use an MOU to express an intent to explore a future partnership and lay out the broad strokes without diving into the exact details. Fourth, we have a Master Service Agreement. Now, the Master Service Agreement, or MSA, acts as a blanket agreement that covers the general terms of an engagement between parties across multiple transactions. Imagine a recurring client relationship. Instead of drafting up a new contract for every project, the parties might use a Master Service Agreement to define the overarching terms and then supplement it with individual work orders or a statement of work. And this brings us to our fifth agreement, the Statement of Work. Now, the Statement of Work, or SOW, is also sometimes called a Scope of Work. Now, this is going to be used to specify details for a particular project, like the deliverables, the timeline, and the milestones involved. While the MSA might lay out the broad payment terms and confidentiality clauses, the work order or statement of work will provide the in-depth details that you need to know to complete a given project or deliver a certain service. Now, sometimes there are agreements that we don't have to immediately use and translate into an actionable project. For example, sometimes our discussions and negotiations are going to entail sharing sensitive information even before we have a formal partnership in place. In this case, we might use our sixth type of agreement, which is known as a non-disclosure agreement. Now, a non-disclosure agreement, or NDA, is a commitment to privacy that ensures that any sensitive information shared during our negotiations will remain confidential between both parties. For instance, a startup sharing its proprietary technology with a potential investor would utilize an NDA to ensure that the details of its technology will not end up in the competitor's hands, even if the investor passes on this business opportunity with the startup. Seventh and finally, we have a business partnership agreement. The Business Partnership Agreement, or BPA, is a document that goes a step beyond the basic contract when two entities decide to pool their resources for a mutual benefit. A business partnership agreement is going to outline the nature of the partnership, profit-sharing mechanisms, decision-making structures, and even some exit strategies. Suppose we have two firms who decide they want to jointly launch a product. The Business Partnership Agreement would not only detail who does what, but it also clarifies aspects of ownership of the intellectual property being created and the distribution of those revenues. Now, you may also hear this type of an agreement called a joint venture or JV agreement as well. So remember, modern businesses require more than just trust. They demand contracts and agreements that can be used to address specific facets of the business relationship between both parties. These documents, from basic contracts to specialized agreements like SLAs and NDAs, serve as navigational beacons, ensuring that all of our parties involved have a clear, shared understanding of our journey ahead. While the sheer variety of these tools might seem daunting, they collectively provide a robust framework that allows for businesses to forge a relationship with clarity, confidence, and mutual respect.